Hey folks, welcome back to another First Impressions video with yours truly, Sam Healey. Where usually I do first impressions on the games that we play for Testing Tuesday. Well, this week we didn't have a Testing Tuesday because we were doing a live playthrough of another game called Oathbreaker from Direwolf Digital. And so I'm going to give you my first impressions on that. We're going to play it some more, of course, before any of that type of stuff. But the other two games that I'm showing here were games that weren't done on Testing Tuesday. They were actually done at a game event on the previous Saturday. So there is that. But anyway, first of all, my first impressions on Oathbreaker here. Oathbreaker is a social deduction game set in the Game of Thrones universe. And it has a really strong resistance slash dark moon slash BSG slash goodness, there's another one in there. It has a really strong, familiar social deduction vibe that's going on to it. And frankly, my first impression is we played it twice, and my first impression here is that this is going to replace a lot of the other social deduction games that are similar to it because I like this one better. Now, I have to say this as a caveat. I have no investment in the Game of Thrones universe at all. I read the first book and that was enough for me, and I had enough, so I wasn't going to do anything. I haven't watched an episode at all of the actual TV show. But this one was very enjoyable for me. I really had a great time. I was able to play both sides, and I enjoyed both experiences for different reasons. So that's my first impression. Going to get it to the table a little bit more, though, to see where exactly it's going to settle. But that's Oathbreaker. Another game that me and Chris actually played at on Saturday was this one called Libraria. Now, Libraria is a small, short, two-player game that where you're trying to basically gain control of these different shelves of books, and each shelf of book is going to award you a certain number of points based on how many books are in that shelf. And if there's mice in the shelf, it's going to eat one of your books, and that's a minus point shelf. There are some shelves that have no books on them, so they don't give you any points. But there's a pattern, a grid set out, and you're using these little gems and trying to gain control by placing your gems on the different intersections that are on the board, on the grid. And it's a really simple game, and I don't know that I actually enjoyed it, but I didn't dislike it either. So I want to try to play it at least once or twice more to get a better feeling on how I think about it. But it's not bad, but I want to play it some more. And then finally, for this video, I played, Chris and I also played on Saturday at Dungeon Duel. We just got stuck in a rut where every time we were finished with the game, everybody else was still in the game, and we couldn't break into anybody else's group. So we just knocked out a couple of two-player games. And so Dungeon Duel was very quirky and strange. I didn't dislike it, but it has some weird mechanisms where each floor, it's basically a card game that is mimicking a dungeon crawl. And each person is a party of heroes. And you just start with one hero to begin with, and then you have to go through, no, I'm sorry, you start with 3 heroes. And then you have some different assistants and helpers that will come along there the way that you have to hire. And you're going through this dungeon, but you're going through from the bottom of the grid to the top of the grid. And once you get to the top of the grid and the last card's removed, then the next floor comes out. And it had a little bit of a Seven Wonders Duel vibe to it. Not really, but kind of, because the card that you defeat or remove from the board here unlocks the one that's on top of it. And sometimes those cards that are on top are flipped over. And so you have to right side up them, and then you know what you're going after. So that's why that's the only reason I say it has a Seven Wonders Duel feel to it. But there's a lot of other stuff going on here. And again, I really have to play this some more before I can give a full review of it. But it wasn't bad. We both were kind of going, well, that was okay. But we need to do a little bit more research to make sure we're playing things right and then get back to it. But not bad so far. And so that's about that for this first impressions video. I just want to give you my first impressions so that maybe it sparks your interest, maybe it doesn't. You just know to stay away from it. But we'll be revisiting these games soon enough. So stay tuned. We'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.